Okay, this video was requested by, who was it requested by? That's a good question. Viola Player 1995, it's Moto Perpetuo by Paganini. And I thought you might just find this interesting. The way that I figured out this piece, I've never played it before, and I don't have the music for it. So what I did was I found this video where there's a whole bunch of these Chinese kids playing the Great Wall International something or other Music Academy in concert. And I'll put the link for you. But you can hear all the music, right? So what I did was I just grabbed a piece of manuscript paper and I just wrote down all the notes. So I just listened to it and kind of figure out what all the notes were. I'm just going to play till here, but first what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in all the lines on the 16th note so that I can at least read it. There we go. So here's my 2-minute rendition of all of the staff lines. It's a little messy, but I promise I haven't tried this yet, so I'm going to go grab my violin now and give it a try. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to play it first slowly because if you try to play it too fast in the beginning, you're going to get totally messed up. So I'm just going to do it a few notes at a time. I did notice that I didn't put a natural sign after the F, so I just guessed that it was natural, and I'm pretty sure that's right. Okay, so now I've got it. So I played it at a normal speed, which is dun 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 dun. Okay, now if you were to not be able to play this quite yet, what I would recommend is doing it in groups. And so forth throughout the entire piece. Now be very careful that you stop your bow in between each group. If you don't stop your bow in between, then it's not accurately reflecting how you're actually going to play this piece. So, and make sure every note is even. If you practice, that's going to come out. It's going to sound all messy and messed up. And I don't think anybody would like to listen to that, myself included. So, okay, now let's take it one step further. Once you've got that down, that would be a siren. I hope nobody died. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap each group by one note. Now I also assume, I didn't watch their fingers, but I assume we just stay in first position this whole time, through this whole piece. Unless you have to go up to a higher note, but so far it looks like everything is playable in first position. So, and then a little bit faster when you connect them. Okay, then I'm going to try it with just 4 to a group. And if you're really adventurous, you can also try little rhythm, like, or, that's hard, I don't usually do that, or, let's see, I guess you can come up with a whole bunch of different rhythms. You can even do it, and I don't know if I would do this, but you can even try just doing it in 3s. Drive you nuts. I don't think that's a good idea. Never mind. Scrap that. But okay, now the bow stroke is, I think the bow stroke is a little bit of a kind of a spiccato. Especially if you're going at the speed that these kids are playing it. Wow, I had some close calls there, but I think I got through it. What I'm doing is, there's a little bit of a motion in my hand, just a little bit, where it's kind of lifting and dropping, just a little bit. And I think it's mostly in my fingers. If you can do this, where you take your bow, let me do it this way. Can you lift and drop your bow like that? And all I'm doing is I'm just moving my fingers. I'm curling my pinky, and everything just kind of follows through with it. And I'm not doing anything with my wrist, necessarily. I'm just moving my fingers. And then the other motion, the horizontal, so this is the vertical motion, is originating from this hand, just with the fingers just a little bit, and it's just to cause this. So if you were to just drop your bow, the bow likes to bounce. Sorry, I was getting mesmerized by this. The bow likes to bounce, and so what I'm doing is I'm just helping it along a little bit with my fingers. Okay? Now if I move it back and forth, if you look at my elbow is the one that's initiating the motion. And I talk about this all the time in every one of my videos, pretty much, is that the elbow is what initiates the horizontal motions. Okay? And then the vertical motion is initiated by this little movement that I'm doing with my hand. See how that's working? I don't even have this under my neck. It's a lot easier for you right here. So look at my hand. Okay, now you probably don't want it to be off the string that much, so maybe... See how much I'm coming off? Not very much, just a little bit. Not like, you don't want it to be way off. So just... And it should feel really easy. Just, all you're doing is, it's kind of like a cradle that you're rocking. I guess for lack of a better analogy. So... Or faster. Dang it, I almost made it through. Okay, well, anyways, that's how I would practice this, and it seems like the rest of this piece is continuous, just a lot of Paganini-esque passages where it's just continuous, and obviously Paganini likes to make his etudes very etude-y. Boy, I'm making up all sorts of different words today. But that's basically the point of the Moto Perpetuo. Make sure that you're practicing it, or even, and then that way what you do is you teach yourself in different layers what the notes are. And then let me give you a third technique once you've done those first two. And this just occurred to me. I'm listening for the first note of each group. Right? And that sounds pretty easy. So even if I lose my place, I can remember, oh, well, I know it sounds like... I can even hear that in my ear. So when I'm... And that way, in fact, I didn't even know this piece maybe 5 minutes ago, but now that I've listened to it, or practiced it this way, I can hear it in my ear, and my fingers kind of know, well, if that's the note that's happening on the beat, then probably it ends up like this. And that's, this is also a good lesson on sight reading, because basically when I sight read, I look at groups, I look at shapes, not necessarily individual notes. If there are accidentals, obviously I pick them up. But when I see a group, like this first one, I don't see C, D, C, B. What I see is a group that starts with C and ends with B, and then the shape of it is kind of like, it looks like the bridge on a violin, like the, you know, where the strings go. And so when I look at that, and I look at this, and I look at the first measure, which is da 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 da, the shape is the little bridge, and then a little bit higher of a bridge, and then falling, and then rising. So immediately when I see that, I think, okay, so I'm going to go, so kind of up, down, and then up, down, and then down, up. And because I've been practicing scales a lot, I already know that from here is, and then from is. So as soon as I see this, I see, and I know that there's a little flourish within those first two. And then from here, the third and fourth, I already know. So when I look at it, and I just kind of eyeball it, oh yeah, it's easy. Same with the second one. It kind of mirrors the first one. So now that I have the first measure in my ear, the second measure is easier for me to hear. So that's how I sight read. Basically, I see it in shapes, and I also hear everything based on the previous measures, which is kind of maybe a little bit complicated at first, but that's just the way that my brain works, I guess. When I've played the first few measures, my brain starts saying, okay, well, I recognize a pattern here. Listen for the pattern, particularly when it gets to... I mean, it's just da-da-da-da-da-da-da, so it's going from... And you can hear that there's a tritone, and so when I hear the tritone, I think, oh, well, there's just notes in between. It's the same thing as... So, or... It would be the same number of notes in between. Or... So when I see the C sharp, I think, okay, well, it's just this. It's just the C raised one, and it should be pretty easy. So give that a try, and if you have any questions on this, let me know. Just post a comment on my channel.